You watched the football last night. Chelsea, now it's interesting about Mason Mount. Not played in the last two against City and Juve. Lost both of them. And they've lost against two sides that have played different ways to beat them. They were totally dominated by Man City. Juve got them on the counter. So firstly, before we talk about Mason Mount, if you're a Chelsea fan, I wouldn't say, are you worried? But they have lost to two different sides who've beaten them two different ways. Is that a concern at all?
No. It wouldn't. It's not a concern because of the intelligence of the manager. He's played different ways at different clubs. He's not a one-trick pony. He's got a wonderful squad. They'll bounce back. And sometimes when things are going so well, you need a kick up the backside. And a couple of defeats in a week against two high-quality sides is not the end of the world. Narrow defeats. I know City dominated them, but the Juve game was quite tight. So no, it wouldn't concern me. In terms of Mason Mount, you've probably picked the wrong person with me to talk about him because
You're not a Mount fan?
Yeah, I'm his biggest fan.
Oh, you are his biggest fan? Okay.
Yeah, he's my favourite English player.
Okay, at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
He's,
so they were meant to have Kai Havertz is meant to play that role. Yeah, the number 10. He's meant to slot in and open up defences, etc. So
well, they played the majority. The end of last season, they played a 3-4-3, and in the Champions League final, if you recall, they play Havertz and Mount tucked in behind Werner as it was then, and they've started this season with a similar formation. The only time that changed was half time against Spurs, and then when they started against Man City,
as well, yeah.
Instead of playing the 3-4-3, they played a 3-5-2. So that's hindered them a bit against City, I thought, which sometimes you make a decision and it doesn't go your way. And there's no guarantee that Mount being in the team would have stopped City's dominance. I don't think it would, even though I'm a big fan of Mount. But what Mount gives you...
You don't think it would have made any difference?
He might have made a difference, but the performance from City was so dominant.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't see how... I don't see how it would have made that much difference just because of how good City were. But in the Juve game, maybe. The thing with Mount that makes him so good to me and so great to watch is that his game intelligence. He's played left he's played left wing, he's played tucked inside as a 10, he's played in a midfield 2, midfield 3, he's played even right side. He can play anywhere because of his game intelligence. And what he's got, which very few midfielders have, is both aspects of his game are in check. So, does he defend well on the front foot? Yes, he really presses with intent. But does it with meaning and wins the ball back many, many times. Numbers are really good on turnovers. Can he track back, get himself in the right positions to stop space and make understand the position, when to drop in and yes, he does that really well. From an attacking point of view, you could argue he should score a few more goals with the ability he's got, but he makes great runs off the ball. Brilliant runs off the ball. A bit like Lingard in his day at United when he used to make those great runs off people.
We'll talk about him in a moment, yeah.
But he also so good technically with the ball at his feet. Very rarely when you watch Mount play does he take the ball in a dangerous area in the opposition pitch and lose it with bad technique or a bad movement. He's always twisting and turning in the right directions, great awareness of other people around him. So for me, the only aspect of his game where he can improve, and he will, is numbers. Assists and goals because of the ability he's got. The only thing is when you're so good and willing to do the defensive part of your game as well and put so much in that respect, your numbers will always be a little bit down because you do need a breather somewhere in the game. You can't do both brilliantly all the time and get really high numbers. You have to be quite selfish to get really high numbers. If you look at Salah, for example, at Liverpool, I'm not comparing him. Salah's way ahead of Mount.
No, of course, I get that. But
Salah's whole game is creating and scoring goals.
Yes.
He doesn't really contribute defensively. And he's not expected to. That's why they play three midfielders who can run all day, every day. Mount has got to add a bit more of that to his game, but he is close to being perfect.
How important is he to Chelsea? Because you mentioned he probably wouldn't have made too much of a difference against City, but maybe last night against Juve would have done.
Well, I only say the City, having your best players is always going to make you better, but I just think how good City were on the day, any tweak to that Chelsea side would have made it. I think he's hugely important, but...
Is he their most important player?
No, but he's one of.
Okay.
I don't think they've got one I would nail down.
Okay, but he's in the conversation.
Yeah, he's in the conversation. I think with the other players they've got there, they should cope more often. If for example, if Chelsea had if he was out for the next month and Chelsea's next 4 games were against teams in the bottom half of the Premier League,
they'll be fine.
Yeah, whereas if you've got Liverpool, United and Leicester coming up, he can make the difference in those games.
Okay. I want to hear from Chelsea fans about everything that we've just spoken about. How important you think Mason Mount is. Danny Murphy thinks he's in the conversation of most important players for Chelsea.
But I also think if you're talking about England, which we were at the top of the show, doesn't matter what opposition we're playing against and what formation we play, Mount is in my 11 for England every single time.
08717223344. Let's just turn our attention briefly to Manchester United. You watched the game last night as well. Lingard or Sancho is where we're going to go today. Your impression on Sancho so far this season?
Struggled a little bit, but not concerned. When you've got that much ability and talent, sometimes take your time, find your rhythm, find your place in a team, work up new relationships. I think he's suffered because of Ronaldo.
Why do you say that?
Because he'd have played more.
Why? They wouldn't have played in similar positions, would they?
No, but if you remember the first game of the season against Leeds when Greenwood played down the middle and was absolutely sensational. Greenwood hasn't played centre forward since Ronaldo's come, so they're giving him game time on the right,
okay.
And rightly so. But I'm a big fan of Greenwood.
Yeah. But
I think he's a centre forward. He can play off the right because he's got talent.
I agree with you as well.
Right, so Ronaldo's come in, got to play. Greenwood's been playing more on the right than
you can't drop him.
And if you watch United opening day against Leeds, Greenwood down the middle, Sancho would have eventually fitted in.
Yeah.
Played. You need a great example is Grealish at City, right? So Grealish, although he's 100 million, 70 million, forget the price for a second. Since Grealish has come in, what did Pep do? Played him every game.
Yeah.
Irrelevant of performance. Now, Grealish had some really good games for City, but he's had a couple of average ones. He's not been brilliant every game. He's had some great games. He's had some average ones. But he's not worried he's going to get dropped for the next game. If Grealish plays against Southampton when they draw 0-0 and he gets left out, the next time he plays, he gets left out against PSG, conversation starts. Yeah. And then the next game, the pressure's on him in his head. Because Pep's gone, you know what? Bam, there you go. You're playing.
Yeah.
So he had a brilliant game against Chelsea. Goes into the PSG one knowing he's confident. He's all right. Wasn't his best game, but he'll be playing against Liverpool at the weekend.
And that's but having said that, Dan, we do hear so much about players raising their game only when they do have competition, when they have a player being brought into the club that can take their place possibly.
So, well, that's always the balance with the manager, is making sure which play. I always think, I've always felt it, and I've stayed consistent with this. When a player goes to a new club, that's the time, and in my own experience that's the time you need a manager to go, in you go, find your way.
Okay.
There's 6-8 games. Then you're going to have a couple of good ones with the talent Sancho's got, you know? I mean, what was it? The Newcastle game where they whacked them 5. He's on the bench. You know, the home game against Leeds, whacked him on the bench. You know, he hasn't had a game where he's completely enjoying his football and they're battering someone. He's been put in some tough games.
So what about Jesse Lingard? Because one of the questions I want to put out to United fans is, what do you do for the next few matches? Everton at the weekend on Saturday. Lingard or Sancho? Who would you go with? What's your views on Lingard's form at the moment?
I've always liked him. I'd have no concerns playing Lingard in any big game. He's old, wise, he's a clever footballer. But if you want to get Sancho firing, you've got to start giving him some games. So I'd play Sancho.
United fans want to get your views on all things Manchester United. If we're not floating your boat on what we've just been speaking about, but you want to talk about the game last night, again, pick up the phone. 08717223344, or if you've got a view on Lingard or Sancho. And, of course, Chelsea fans, I want to hear from you how important Mason Mount is to your club. Lots to talk about. One number to dial, 08717223344. It's Drive on talkSPORT with me, Andy Goldstein, and Danny Murphy, and WeBuyAnyCar.com. There's now over 375 branches nationwide. Find your closest now.